Forget evolution, Giannis Antetokounmpo feels less like a product of natural selection and more like a carefully curated, basketball-optimized specimen dropped onto Earth, perhaps from a very specific, alien gym. Imagine a video game character created with all the sliders cranked to maximum, wingspan that defies geometry, a vertical leap that seems to mock gravity, and a stride that devours the court in 3 monstrous steps. He's not merely athletic, he's an almost absurd aggregation of physical gifts, a player whose movements on the court often look like a glitch in the matrix, a living, breathing cheat code against the very laws of physics. His presence isn't just intimidating, it's an existential threat to opposing defenses, a biological marvel that makes you wonder if human potential has been severely underestimated, or if Giannis simply received a secret genetic upgrade during an unannounced firmware update. He arrived in the NBA as a skinny kid from Greece, an unknown commodity with a name nobody could pronounce, but what he brought was an unteachable, primal force, an undeniable raw power that even the most seasoned scouts struggled to quantify. He was less a basketball player and more a force of nature, an inevitable phenomenon destined to reshape the game itself, whether the league was ready for such an unprecedented, joyous, and utterly relentless upheaval or not. Yet, before he was shattering backboards and rewriting record books, this nascent titan was navigating a world far removed from multi-million-dollar contracts and global superstardom. Giannis grew up in Sapolia, Athens, in a tiny apartment, selling sunglasses, watches, and bags on the streets with his brothers to help his family make ends meet, a stark contrast to the pampered lives often imagined for future NBA legends. Their daily existence was a delicate balance of hustle and hope, a constant reminder of the precariousness of their undocumented status in Greece. It's almost comically ironic to consider that the man who would later sign contracts worth hundreds of millions once pondered the financial implications of a single taxi ride. Indeed, as a rookie, after sending nearly all his initial earnings back home to his family in Greece, Giannis once famously called the Bucks front office because he couldn't afford a taxi after an outing, highlighting his immediate family-first mentality and almost shocking financial innocence. This wasn't just a charming anecdote, it was a snapshot of a profound humility and an unwavering connection to his roots, even as the glittering promises of a new life beckoned. He wasn't just playing basketball, he was playing for his family, for a future where a taxi ride wasn't a financial dilemma, a future he was willing to power through, one impossible drive and one monstrous dunk at a time. The streets of Athens, far from the polished hardwood courts, forged a resilience and a hunger that money could never buy, but which would prove invaluable on his ascent to the very pinnacle of professional sports. His entry into the NBA was less a grand coronation and more a bewildering gamble. When the Milwaukee Bucks, a team generally known for their quiet competence rather than audacious risks, called Giannis's name at 15th overall in the 2013 draft, most fans, and even many analysts, had to scramble to Google the name. He was an enigma, a lanky, unknown 18-year-old from a lower division Greek league, a diamond in the rough that barely looked like a diamond to the naked eye. The scouting reports were a mix of awe and skepticism. Unbelievable potential, clashed with extremely raw. It was a leap of faith so significant it bordered on comedic, as if the Bucks were drafting a mythical creature based on vague whispers rather than concrete evidence. And the journey to even be drafted was fraught with bureaucratic absurdity. Just hours before the 2013 NBA draft, it was uncertain if Giannis would even be allowed into the United States, as his visa status remained unresolved until literally the last minute, nearly derailing the launch of a legendary career before it even began. Imagine the headline, "Future MVP denied entry due to paperwork snafu." It's almost too perfect for a viral video script, a dramatic twist before the story even starts. He arrived a literal stranger in a strange land, with no car, limited English, and a frame that suggested he might blow away in a strong gust of Milwaukee wind. Yet, beneath that gangly exterior was an insatiable curiosity, an unyielding work ethic, and a genetic blueprint ready to explode. The early years were a delightful, if at times clumsy, spectacle. Dubbed the Greek Freak for his outlandish physical attributes, he was initially a blur of uncoordinated brilliance, a gazelle learning to use its legs, often looking like Bambi on ice skates, but with the occasional jaw-dropping dunk or block that reminded everyone of the boundless potential lurking within. He was an experiment in real time, learning the nuances of the NBA game not in pristine academies but in the brutal crucible of professional competition. He devoured knowledge, he devoured food, and he devoured the weight room, transforming his slender frame into a chiseled marvel of muscle and sinew. Coaches, mesmerized by his innate talent, experimented with him at every position, watching as he grew not just in height and muscle, but in basketball IQ. He absorbed lessons like a sponge, refining his once chaotic athleticism into a potent weapon, one step at a time, one impossible highlight at a time. The game started to slow down for him, but his body never did. His relentless energy wasn't just physical, it was mental, a burning desire to improve every single day. By the time he claimed his first MVP award in 2019, he had already become an unstoppable force, a one-man wrecking crew capable of bending entire defenses to his will, a far cry from the gangly teenager who once worried about bus fare. He wasn't just evolving, he was accelerating, a biological fast-forward button pressed on human athletic development. His dominance wasn't merely about stats, it was about the sheer, overwhelming force he exerted on every single possession. He became a living, breathing battering ram, a locomotive with handles and a jump shot that, while never pristine, was always improving enough to keep defenders honest. His drives to the basket weren't just attacks, they were seismic events, often ending with an earth-shattering dunk that seemed to carry the weight of an entire city's hopes. Defensively, he was a one-man zone, covering ground few humans could, blocking shots from behind that seemed impossible, and snatching rebounds with an almost preternatural instinct. His frame was a marvel, but the real secret lay deeper. His astonishing Achilles tendons are nearly twice as long as the average human's, a biological marvel that grants him an unparalleled stride and spring, a structural advantage that seems almost unfairly engineered for basketball dominance. It's like discovering a supercar has a hidden turbo boost button that only Giannis knows how to activate. This wasn't just hard work, it was a genetic lottery win combined with an unyielding refusal to waste a single advantage. The game had never seen a player quite like him, a 7-footer who could handle the ball like a guard, pass with exquisite vision, and finish above the rim with a ferocity that bordered on terrifying. He was truly a new breed, an apex predator on the hardwood, constantly pushing the boundaries of what was considered physically possible in basketball, making opponents question their life choices. Then came the ultimate test, the crucible of the 2021 playoffs. The Bucks, led by Giannis, had been knocking on the door of contention for years, accumulating MVP awards and regular season accolades, but the ultimate prize, the championship, had remained elusive. There was pressure, immense pressure, to deliver. The expectation weighed heavily, and doubts inevitably crept in, both from outside critics and, undoubtedly, from within the team. The ultimate irony, the unexpected twist, arrived with a sickening thud in the Eastern Conference Finals. In a moment that sent collective gasps across the basketball world, Giannis suffered a hyperextended knee, a brutal injury that looked career-threatening and seemingly extinguished all hope for the Bucks' championship aspirations. Doctors often speak of luck when a hyperextension doesn't involve tears to ligaments. Giannis had been lucky, but the recovery seemed impossible in such a short time frame. It was the antithesis of everything he represented, a sudden, terrifying vulnerability for a man who seemed impervious to pain, a moment where the Greek freak suddenly looked all too human, all too fragile. Most players, facing such a severe injury just weeks before the NBA Finals, would be relegated to the bench, their season abruptly over. But Giannis, defying logic and medical prognosis, returned to the court, not diminished, but re-energized, channeling a primal will that seemed to tap into something beyond mere human resilience. It was as if his very body, a natural force itself, was capable of self-repair at an accelerated, almost alien pace, a testament to a biological engine running on an entirely different fuel. He wasn't just overcoming an injury, he was manifesting a miraculous recovery, a profound display of his unique physiological architecture and indomitable spirit. He returned to the NBA Finals not as a mere participant, but as a man possessed, a force unleashed. What followed was a championship performance that etched his name into the annals of basketball history, cementing his legend in the most dramatic fashion possible. He dominated the Phoenix Suns with a ferocity that bordered on mythological, capping it off with one of the most iconic individual performances ever seen in a closeout game, 50 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 blocks in Game 6. The most striking moments were his 2 free throws in the dying minutes, ice in his veins, defying a career-long struggle from the line, silencing every doubter with pure, unadulterated will. He powered the Bucks to their first championship in 50 years, a testament not just to his talent, but to his unwavering commitment, his relentless self-improvement, and his ability to elevate his game when it mattered most. The tears of joy, the raw emotion in his post-game interview, proclaiming his journey from selling items on the street to becoming an NBA champion, resonated deeply. He didn't just win a title, he conquered his own limitations, defied expectations, and delivered on a promise to a city that had embraced him unconditionally. He wasn't just a great player, he was a phenomenon, a testament to the power of belief, perseverance, and a freakishly long Achilles tendon. He wasn't merely the Greek freak, he was a force of nature, an elemental power wearing a basketball jersey, reminding us that true greatness often stems from a profound respect for the wild, untamed potential within.